Hello and welcome to the Power Pod. I'm Matthew Cohen, and today I have the pleasure of welcoming Joe Emilio back onto the show. Joe, good to see you again. How you doing?
Oh, good to see you, Matthew. Yeah, I'm good, man. How are you?
Yeah, no complaints, no complaints. Although I do have to admit, man, I've been following you quite a lot on X. I mean, of course, your YouTube has just continued to grow exponentially. So congratulations for that. But I noticed that while you've been on X, you've also gotten quite a lot of traction. And we actually saw you not too long ago in a little bit of an X feud with the DA in the city of Cape Town, so much so that even the mayor, Jordan Hill Lewis, hopped into the chat. So, Joe, can you maybe walk us through what happened?
Yeah, sure. First of all, that was an interesting conversation and debate. My wife, actually, who happens to be Sky ZA on X, she we noticed on our municipal account thing that there's an added expense or not expense line, right? I think it was called the cleaning or something like that. And we were wondering, like, wait a second, that's like I think 400 rand or something. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's like it's added to it, right? So it's like why are we paying this fee? It just appeared. Um,
Right.
and my wife put out a post like, okay, like City of Cape Town DA, explain this. Like, where does this come from? Why is it here? Doesn't make any sense. Blah blah blah. So then Jordan, I think it was Jordan, replied to her and said that it used to be included in the electricity bill, but they have since taken it out of, like, when you buy like prepaid or if you pay for electricity, either one, this city cleaning was included in that. There was like a bit of tax in that when you buy units. Um, and so they've decided to take it out because apparently it saves people money in the long run. Um, but the problem is that it's also dependent, or the amount that you pay is also dependent on where you live. So if you are in a more affluent place, that rate is going to be higher. If you're in a less, popular place, it's going to be less. But also other factors, like it's a very complicated system apparently. But anyway, it's designed to be fair. Um, and when my wife did a bit of math and stuff, and we told him, like, we were having a debate, and this happened a few weeks ago, so I can't remember the exact details, but the bottom line was he tried to do a bit of math. I did a bit of math. He did a bit of math. He said my math was wrong because I I was saying that on a 4,000 rand bill, like, the math doesn't add up. And then he was saying, no, you're doing the math wrong. On a 4,000 rand bill, electricity bill, you would save 40 rand. Okay, so there's
But
two issues with this.
40 rand's not a
One,
lot, Joe.
my point exactly. That's what I told him. I said, like, yeah, but when we telling someone that you're going to save, and I think I put out a post that says this, telling someone that, you're saving 40 rand on a 40,000 rand bill, 4,000 rand bill, is like telling someone that's in debt that you're going to give them 5 cents. It doesn't help.
Right.
It's not a big dent in someone's wallet. And he was very adamant that, like, yeah, but it's a win because, like, you still saved. Like, for I think what Jordan was trying to say is that, but we helped people save. Doesn't matter the amount. The point is you're saving. But then you slap on that 400 rand or 300 rand. So I've heard, I have friends that say it's 500 rand in their area. Um,
Really?
like,
Wow.
yeah, it varies from the place. I've heard it's 200 rand. I've heard it's 500 rand. It ranges. And what's the point of saving me 40 rand on my electricity bill if I still have this other fee That's basically going to it nullifies the 40 rand. It cancels it out, you know.
Yeah,
But anyway, I didn't
it
I
almost
didn't I
sounds
didn't
like
get
a
into.
progressive tax.
Yeah, well,
You know what
basically, I
I
mean,
mean?
and
Because it's like the same with income tax, where because you earn more, or well, in this case, because you're in like a more affluent area, if they want to call it that, boom, sorry, you're going to get stuck with the bigger bill.
yeah, and I've seen other like people on social media also complain about the same thing. You know, people calling out the city, saying like, I mean, there was this one woman on TikTok who put out a video, basically saying the same things we were. You know, like, what's going on here, city of Cape Town? Hey, what's going on here, city of Cape Town?
Those
Um,
icons love you, man. You're the only one
yeah.
who it seems to react to.
um, so this other woman is saying the exact same thing. Like, what is this item here? Explain it. It's not mathing. Doesn't make sense. Blah blah blah. And look, I think South Africa in general, South African taxpayers are taxed to death with so many things that are happening at the moment. I'm sure you saw that recent headline that I mean, this has been spoken about before, but it's come back into the headlines of they want small businesses that are not listed to voluntarily give 3% of their revenue for the transformation fund. You know, another levy tax,
Right.
but this one somehow you're going to be, you know, voluntary, but you know that when they don't get, if not enough people voluntarily do it, then they're going to force people to do it. And you know, there's all these other taxes that we have that are hidden. We are taxed to death beyond belief, and you know, for the city of Cape Town / DA to try and spin this and make it sound like they're saving, and this is better because X, Y, and Z and cleaning and all that stuff. You know what? I don't know if I can show you, like, but I wanted to post this because I was driving today on the N2, and
Yeah, go ahead.
this it's funny we talking about this because I literally was driving on the N2 earlier, and when I saw this, it made me think of that cleaning fee. And I was like, wow, my tax paying rands are really being put to use here. And I just want to see if I can find it. Let me just reduce the brightness on my phone so you can see it better. And I'm going to zoom in. Yeah, this is
Oh
classic.
boy.
Okay, so um, can't help but laugh. So I'm gonna read to you what says. So I'm on the N2. There's a big wall, okay, and it's got an ad on the wall, painted on the wall. The ad says, "Clean after yourself. Stop the dumping." Okay. So
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it. So I'm gonna try and show it to you. So do you see?
Right,
There's
let's
the
see.
wall. Do you see it?
Kind of.
Yeah. So there's the wall that says,
Okay.
um,
Oh
"Stop,
my
stop the."
god.
But then look what's right next
Oh
to it.
my god.
There's your tax-paying grand hard at work, my guy.
Oh, Joe, it's just tragic, man. You know, you've actually just reminded me. I saw Helen Ziller was in an interview today. I think it may have actually been on the Truth Report, but more on the Truth
Yes, with
Report
Donald
later.
Brown. Yeah.
Your group, but basically, she was talking about how you see this in Joburg quite a lot, and I can attest to that, having been a resident of Joburg for many years. That basically, on one hand, you need to have municipal services running correctly. So the government needs to ensure that, you know, refuse removal takes place. But then at the same time, you have people who seem to always like want to sabotage stuff, right? So, for example, she spoke about how there were homeless people. I'm not sure how entirely true it is, but she alleges that there are homeless people who would willingly damage traffic lights so that they could continue to direct traffic, because when the traffic light's working, they don't do it and maybe they get less money, something like that. So it almost reminds me of that kind of a situation. But I don't know, Joe, this really worries me, what you're telling me about this whole rate system, right? Because at the moment, and I'm just talking from the Joburg perspective, you've got this whole municipal election coming up. And obviously, there's this big hope that, Helen Zille's in town. And again, I'm not a member of the DA, I'm not a supporter of the DA per se. But obviously, for many people, myself included, she's a much better option than whoever else is on the table, right? And a big reason for that is because of her track record in Cape Town. And also for the rest of us in the country, we've always kind of viewed Cape Town as the leading example. So I don't know, Joe, this kind of worries me, man, seeing that all of a sudden you've got this sort of issue and where it seems like people are almost being priced out. I don't know what is it actually like in Cape Town? Are people on the ground really so frustrated with the DA and governance, or do you think it's kind of being overhyped?
Yeah. So let me just say this: I have a love-hate relationship with the DA because I, I don't, it's no secret. I don't support them anymore. I used to vote for them. I don't anymore. And if there's any DA members that watch this, I hope your ears are perking up because I was a former voter. And the DA, there's a lot of issues with the DA, but let me just focus it in on what you're asking specifically with the Western Cape. So I think there is some legislation that exists that makes it very difficult for the DA to do what they want to do. I think it kind of puts them in a corner, and they're forced to do things that unfortunately does anger the civilians, and the civilians don't quite understand the dynamics at play. I can give you one example, which would be the illegal land grabs. When an illegal land grab
Yeah.
happens, right? Um, Typically happens is they take over the land and then they start protesting that they want sewage and water and all that stuff. But it's very difficult for you to remove these people and then put that infrastructure in. Usually you put the infrastructure in first and then the people move in. So what happens is, in order to accommodate, because, there's a bit of a mandate that the governing, whoever governs the province can't just leave these people to fend for themselves because, disease will start and all that stuff. So you have to do something. Even though it takes time, you have to do something. You either have to evict them or you have to provide services. So what tends to happen, and this was also in the news quite recently at the beginning of this year, is that, and I think the Jack Miller from Cape Independence Party was making a big noise about this in the city council, is that the DA wanted to increase rates to accommodate, not necessarily to accommodate the people that have stolen the land, but because there is this problem where they're like, well, they've stolen the land. We are trying to evict them, but even if they're waiting 3 years until we get the eviction, then we have to do something. We have to provide something. And unfortunately, they raise the taxes to be able to have the budget to remove those people, so that they can put infrastructure in. And a lot of people have criticized this because they're like, well, you're just instigating or giving a reason for more land grabs. But the problem is, like, you can't leave them. You can't leave them to live in squalor and terrible conditions. It's not constitutionally right. I don't advocate for it, but I'm just saying this is the reality of the situation. So it's examples like that. Like there's other, instances where I think the DA is trying the best they can with the cards they're dealt. In the same way that they can't control the PI Act. The PI Act, any national law or legislation trumps provisional legislation. So the PI Act, for example, is a national law legislation. So the DA have to abide by it. They don't like it. They don't agree with it, but they have to abide by it. And some would argue, I argue, that I think they should have a bigger backbone and just say no and just whatever. Like you're in control of the Western Cape. it goes back to when there was load shedding, and the DA was doing great to make sure that the Western Cape had better load shedding than the rest of the country, and they were successful at that.
Right.
But during that time, they put their foot down to a certain extent. They put their foot down and said, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. We're actually going to try and save our economy and make sure that people can have electricity and businesses can run and stuff like that. I still think they could have been even tougher because, if in that situation, right, you're trying to provide electricity for people. And some people died because of load shedding. It's not even a joke. Like, that's not an exaggeration. So, I think the DA could have just been like, no, we're going to completely do our own thing. We're going to have private electricity. We're going to just roll this thing out, blah, blah. Because at the end of the day, I think the DA is so scared of what the ANC is going to do to them. But the DA doesn't look at the future and be like, okay, let the ANC try and take us to court. Let the ANC try and destroy us or badmouth us or whatever the case be. How is it going to look if the DA puts their foot down and says, no, we're no longer going to rely on ESCOM. We're going to have an alternative power thing. And the ANC gets pissed off and says, well, we're going to take you to court or whatever the case. I would love to see a judge try and understand the benefits, if there is any, of why the ANC should let the DA prevent people from running their businesses and having electricity, something that the government is supposed to provide constitutionally and by law. They're supposed to provide infrastructure. They're supposed to make sure that we are safe. They're supposed to make sure that there's running water, so on and so forth. And the ANC has failed to do that. So when people take the law in their own hands, I don't think any court is going to be like, oh, no. You know what, Western Cape, you're still not supposed to do that. You just let the citizens suffer, let the citizens die. It's fine. The ANC's in the right. I highly doubt that would have happened.
Right.
So,
although I wouldn't be too worried about that though, because I mean, the ANC's, they're not going to go after the DA. They're not going to try to destroy the DA. They're too busy trying to destroy themselves and succeeding. So,
yeah, right now it's different because, the DA is in the GNU and that's where this really gets complicated because I think that the DA at a national level is no longer the DA we used to know. But the DA on a Western Cape level, I think is trying to juggle both, images, if I can put it that way. So they're trying to look united as one DA. But at the same time, they're like, we don't want ANC or anyone else to infiltrate or get control of the Western Cape. So they're still trying to hold on to their previous, previous principles. That's the word. Previous principles in the Western Cape. While the principles at national level seem to be changing. So that's a very delicate balance that they're trying to do, and they're failing at doing that, I think. I think in recent times, like going back to your earlier point about people on the ground, I have seen, at least in my social media and my videos that I do on the DA, a significantly more amount of people that are criticizing the DA and are unhappy with the DA. Many comments that I have saying, I'm never voting for them again. I used to vote for them. Don't trust the DA anymore. I've gone to Freedom Front Plus or I've gone to PA or whatever the case may be. Just if I had done a video on them 3 years ago, before the GNU even, there would be less people saying that. There would be more people, criticizing me for attacking the DA. And right. I've definitely seen that shift. And I'm not saying, look, I don't know if the DA's voter base is in trouble or I don't know if the DA is going to have less votes. What is interesting though on the Helen being mayor in Joburg is how I can't remember if she announced her mayorship or candidacy before or after this. But recently Cyril went on like a huge stage and said like, well, he was basically praising the DA, praising what they do in the Western Cape, saying that the ANC needs to have that kind of mentality of making things work and stuff like that. And he actually said, if you go to the Western Cape, things are working, things are happening, and that's a huge. Maybe he didn't realize it, I don't know, but that's a huge like stamp of approval, right? And now you have Helen
Right.
coming in. That I find that very coincidental, almost too coincidental, for
Yeah, because
those
it
two
was
things
just
to
before
happen.
she was confirmed as the candidate. In fact, I actually remember her in one of her interviews saying, it's quite funny. Even the president endorses me. So that's how I
Exactly,
remember
and I
at
think
least.
it makes me a little bit worried as to what's going on in play. Is the DA the same? Maybe it is. Maybe it's always been this way. Maybe it's always been ANC light, as a lot of people have said before. Um, I'm I, I'm like a terrible ex, that with the DA, and that's why I say it's a love hate relationship. Because even though I criticize them, and I criticize any party, any government, um, but with the DA, for some reason, I'm that hopeful ex that like, but you're gonna change. I know you're gonna change. I know you have it in you. And then time and time again, I'm disappointed. And I'm like, but maybe this time you'll change.
And the
So
change just you think the change is coming, and then they do something to just unravel it. But
exactly.
Joe, I do have to agree with you because unfortunately, and I don't want to blame the DA entirely, they just find themselves in such, I guess you could call it, in between a rock and a hard place, right? Because on one hand, you're going to have those people that view them as sort of the one party in the GNU that can at least get certain departments working. And of course, we have heard a lot more people complain about the GNU lately. But then you also have to remember that if they were to leave the GNU, right, you can only do it once. Okay. And obviously, once that's done, you're out, and you don't know how that's going to affect coalitions in time to come. Because unfortunately, and I hate to say this, Joe, but even looking at the Joburg race, right? Like if the DA doesn't get 50%, if Helen Zille can't get mayor with a majority, I'm looking at who their potential coalition partners could be, right? And I mean, we've seen the likes of Action SA. I mean, I don't think they're going to do well. I know that there's a whole bunch of people in the media who are obviously a little bit, I don't know, drunk or deluded, and they think they're going to do well. But even if they were big enough to pull the DA over, I don't think they'll help the DA. I think they're going to stab them in the back, right? And the Patriotic Alliance also flip flops a lot. You can't really trust them. You don't know what their next move is, whether you like them or not, policy wise. You just don't know what they're going to do. And so it almost feels like the DA might have to work with the ANC, even in a place like Joburg. I don't know, Joe. But yeah, things are not looking great over there, man. Yeah, I don't know. So, seeing as you say that the DA is not really a party that you feel like you'd vote for, do you mind me asking, is there anybody that you could see as a viable alternative right now?
Freedom Front Plus or the Referendum Party. Those are the ones that I support. More so the Referendum Party. And it's not a secret. I was a candidate for them during the previous elections. And it's no secret that I support Cape independence. And I'm not as involved anymore. But I still support the idea of it. And the reason why I'm not involved with the referendum party as much anymore is purely because of family reasons. My son was born at the beginning of this year, and I have a toddler and family obligations, and I couldn't at this stage in my life I couldn't give a lot of my time to the cause and the party. The best I could do is, an interview here and there, and to letting people know about some updates, and that's what I constantly do now. But maybe in the future I can be more involved. We'll see. So yeah, Freedom Front Plus, I support them as well, although I haven't become a member or anything like that. But I am toying with the idea of voting for them in the next in these coming elections,
Oh, your buddy
because
Ronaldo will be happy to hear that.
yeah, um, I think with the Freedom Front Plus, that they're one of the few parties that actually, no matter what has happened in the past, they've stuck with their guns. They stand for the issues that civilians really care about, and I think for the most part, at least they stand for what I believe in: classical liberal views. They're against farm attacks. They really try and put that in the mainstream media, or at least talk about it more often than other parties. And they also support Cape independence. So that's also like where it's like, okay, it's kind of a win-win situation here. And I've had Corneille Mulder on my show before. He was the leader of Freedom Front Plus. Very nice guy. I've met him. He's an awesome guy. And I definitely, yeah, I think the biggest reason why I like Freedom Front Plus is because, again, they don't flip flop, right? And they say what they want to say with their chest. And that for me is something I respect, whether you like it or not. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that say, oh, it's a racist party or whatever, blah, blah. And
But
I'm not sure if
it's
Ronaldo
just
joining.
ridiculous, man. Don't even listen to those people.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, I don't know if Ronaldo
No,
joining
I'm just
kind of
saying, because
helped
it's
the
like the same
stereotype.
people will look at the EFF and make like they're all okay. Kill the Boer, look the other way, but Freedom Front Plus, you know the hypocrisies, man,
Yeah.
in society.
No, absolutely. But I just, I'm not saying that Ronaldo's a racist, but I'm saying because the media labeled him as a racist, right?
Yeah.
Him joining the Freedom Front Plus may not be helping that situation, at least in the mainstream media's eyes. I'm not saying that they are racist. I know they're not. They're just, like I said, that they say things with their chest, even if it's going to upset you. It's the truth, and that's what I respect about them. But they're definitely not racist, that's for sure. I've read their manifesto. I've looked through what they believe in, and it aligns with me. And that's what I encourage most people to do. You know, you got to read these parties' manifestos, and you've got to decide which party closely aligns with your values. And you're never going to find a party that's 100%, all you, for example. There's always going to be one or two policies that you might feel not sure about, but you can almost let it slide because the majority of the policies and the majority of what they talk about or their principles, you can agree with. And that if you can find a party like that, then support them. So yeah. Yeah, that's who I support.
Okay, good to know. So I take it then that you won't be getting behind Unite for Change, this new movement with Musi Maimane and Patricia
That's
Delal Songezo Zibi. Oh man, what do you make
oh
of
man.
them? I know you did a video on that, but I'm curious to hear, just for the people who maybe didn't catch your vid.
Yeah, so let's let them know. Like it's good. Rise Mazanzi and Bosa have decided to merge into Unite for Change or whatever it's called, which sounds like an NPO more than anything else. But
It does.
the um, what frustrated me the most about this story and about what's happening is that the mainstream media and these parties said that they are a centrist party now. And if you look at their manifestos, if you look at what they believe in, there is nothing centrist about them at all. They believe in bigger government. They believe in top-down control, more money being spent, socialist. I think it was good that once the universal
Oh, the
basic
universal
income.
grant.
Yeah, which is very socialist, and another like the typical housing story and all that stuff. So um, none of them are centrist. They are not a centrist group by any stretch of the means. They are left. They're maybe not as radical as EFF and MK and all these other guys, but they are definitely more left. They're like in between. So if the DA is like centrist leaning left, then they're just after that, and then EFF and MK are like over here. So they're like, eh.
Right. Like if we were being generous to them, we'd say they're like center left or liberal, but like that's like being generous.
Yeah, that is being very generous.
Yeah.
I I think I think it's a joke, and here's the thing: it's difficult to take them seriously because combined, right? These three parties combined barely make 2% of the voter base. Like there's still a blip on the radar.
Yeah, and I just have to mention this. Sorry to interrupt, Joe, but I actually did the calculation, right? So it actually depends on which ballot you're looking at, because you remember how last year there were the three ballots, right? So you had that national ballot and the regional, which are still for the same National Assembly. But if you look at the national ballot, right? Because I assume that generally the national ballot is who you would have voted for if it was just two ballots instead of three. So check this out. Rise Mzansi got 0.42% of the vote. Bosa got 0.41. And then we had the Good Party at just 0.18. I mean, they're virtually non-existent. And that adds up to a grand total of 1.01%. And if we go by seats in the National Assembly, between them, they've got 5. It's just an absolute joke, man. And you want to know the funniest part? I saw a social media post by them where they said, here is our executive council in no particular order. And then it lists them. And then everybody underneath was like, wow, you guys are really scared to just say who your leader's going to be. Like, you can't even decide who's going to be in charge of this tiny party. It's honestly, man, it just gets me worked up.
They can't decide because everybody wants to be the main chief, right? So like, I'm pretty sure Patricia wants to be the main, ZB wants to be the main, Musi Mamani wants to be the main guy. So they came to this compromise that there is no leader. We'll just all lead. Like, and that's, when you have too many chefs in the kitchen, it takes you longer to make decisions. It takes you longer to action things. I don't know. I think the real question is like, is this party going to win in the sense of like last? I don't think so. It'll be very interesting to see how they do in the upcoming elections. I think they're going to make a lot of noise. I think they're going to try their best to get an increase in votes, but will it be enough? I doubt it. I think Unite for Change is just a PR move to let's put it this way. Good Rise Mazanzi and Bosa, nobody was paying them any attention. So this is one way of just getting everybody, those three individuals, back in the spotlight, because now the media is talking about them. We're talking about them. We're mentioning them again. It's months before the elections. So it's just a PR move. Is anything going to come of it? I doubt it. It's just like the, what's it called? That multi-charter. What's it?
Oh, the multi-party charter from before 2024 election.
Yeah. So I think it's a similar strategy. And I don't think it's going to work out. They might stick around. They might stick around for a few years and ruffle up some feathers and stuff, but we'll see. I mean, the landscape of South Africa is changing. I think the ANC is on a decline, which is good. Very good for South Africa. But the question is if the ANC is going to leave peacefully or not. And I'm sure the ANC is going to try everything they can to hold on to power for as long as possible. So, but people are waking up. The landscape is changing. evident in the previous election where they got below 50%. And I think they're going to keep going lower because they've done nothing good since then. It's not like they've turned around. It's not like they've made South Africa a better place since. It's still going downward. And I think a lot of people were hopeful about the GNU. I wasn't. For as long as the ANC is in power in any capacity, shape, or form, South Africa will never get better. And that is the truth.
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation, and I can't disagree with you on that. I'll so very reluctantly I will give a little bit of credit to this Unite for Change for one reason only. Okay, so we spoke about obviously them coming together, and what we normally see in South Africa is parties breaking apart. You know, all these breakaways of the ANC that have formed over the years. And I have actually thought to myself, maybe there needs to be a time where certain like-minded parties do come together simply to just be a bigger force. Because I often think to myself, you know, you've got the ANC that's been the leader for so long. And then you get these polls where, for example, it's showing you that the DA might be catching up to them nationally. And then, of course, in certain municipalities. And then it almost seems as if people are kind of held hostage to the DA, right? Where you think to yourself, I'd like to vote for a party that I agree more with ideologically, but I can't because they'll get like 1% or 2% and, you know, it's going to split the vote basically. So I'll give them credit just for the fact that they're trying to combine the votes. But yeah, I agree with you, Joe. And, there's something I actually have to tell you. I got into a little bit of a chat on X with one of the. I don't know if she's in the Gauteng legislature for Rise Mzansi. I can't even remember her name, but basically, she had a post talking about how they're bringing fresh young leadership, and I said, "What are you talking about? Patricia de Lille's been around for decades. Musi Maimane was around for he's been around for like 10 years. The only like, what are you talking about?" And then she says to me, those are only three people. If you're only looking at them, you're missing the picture. And then I said, those are the three people leading your party. Who knows? I don't know any of these other people that are below them in the list. But yeah.
And nobody cares.
Leave them to. Exactly. Nobody cares. Most people don't even know their ward councillors. And those are people in like the DA and the ANC. So, honestly, what a joke. But something that you did mention kind of resonated with me, right? And that was about the ANC leaving. So yeah, I agree with you. I think they are definitely on that inevitable decline. But again, there's that question of will they leave peacefully or not? And you put up quite an interesting video the other day, Joe. It was called, and I quote, ANC secret gun grab exposed. So before I go on, could you explain a little bit about what that video is about? Because this is quite an important piece of, legislation that could definitely affect our own personal security as citizens.
Yeah, so there, in I think it was 2021, there were some amendments to the gun act. I forgot what the actual title of this act is, but it's basically an act that gives us the laws for guns, and one of the reasons why you can own a gun is for self-defense, a very important one, and the amendments want to take that away. So you no longer, they want to make it so that citizens cannot own a gun for self-defense. Caused a huge uproar in 2021. There was protesting, not violent protesting, just marching. I remember I was there. I was at the march. This was during COVID or lockdown. JP Smith came out, some other people, some important people like what's his name? Neil De Beer. And some other influential people. I remember Ian Cameron was also there, and we made a big noise, and we petitioned and we made our comments. I know the South African Gun Association or something like that was there. GOSA was there. A lot of people were there, And it was successful in preventing the amendments from happening then. But now this has been an interesting story because NEDLAC had like a secret meeting with the ANC and other individuals. AfriForum found that out and sounded the alarm. And then shortly after that, we come out to find that the ANC is trying to push through these amendments. The same amendments that had over 118,000 submissions. Now, 118,000 submissions, I'm not saying that was all of them that denied. I'm not sure. I haven't seen the submissions myself. But you can imagine that a large majority probably didn't want this to happen, right? And
Right.
it seems like the ANC is just ignoring those submissions. But certain individuals or organizations like AfriForum, Soccer are gearing up for the fight. And Free SA as well has a campaign open at the moment where you guys can go and comment. I know some people might think to themselves, like, wait, you just said that the government ignored them. Well, the government can't ignore. They can try and ignore, but they can't. And it is important for everybody to go and comment and leave your comment and fight again. Because the more noise, the more pressure we give, the more unlikely it is that they'll push through those amendments, because it's a very important thing here. I mean, there's other ridiculous things on these amendments, but I think the most important thing that should alarm everybody is the fact that you cannot get a gun for self-defense. And you got to ask yourself, why? Why on earth would a government want to take that away from the citizens? And I think the answer is pretty clear. We've seen attacks on the security industry as well. Those ridiculous amendments that say they can't use guns anymore. They can't use even tasers or rubber bullets and stuff like that, and essentially cripple the private security industry from being able to protect you. So now they want to take away your guns, or at least prevent you from having guns, and they want to take away security from you. Why? Why would they want to do that? Why? What on God's beautiful green earth, what good excuse could they have? And the only excuse I can come up with is the fact that the ANC is a very communist organization and government, and they will do whatever they can to make sure that they have power. This might come into play in the future when it's time for them to leave, and they're the ones with the guns and we are not. We've seen this play out before in many socialist/communist states. China, we've seen this play out in Venezuela, Zimbabwe, and basically where a government wants ultimate control, to control the civilians as much as possible and take away as much rights as possible. So this is a very dangerous thing if the ANC pushes this through. Luckily, we have very robust, what do they called again? Very robust civil society groups. Again, as I mentioned,
Right.
AfriForum, Soccer, Free SA, Free Market Foundation, all these guys that are great at what they do, and they will litigate. They will fight this, that's for sure. But it's quite scary that that the ANC wants to do this. Some of you might be saying, "Oh, but it's the GNU now, and the DA should get involved." And the DA does what they always do. They'll put out a press release, and then they'll say that they'll fight it in court, and then we'll see if they actually do. But yeah, this is a very important
and I do
thing,
think it's
and
also
who knows?
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off, Joe. I do also think it's important that people realize that unfortunately we've also got a pretty big political deadlock, in the sense that even if the DA normally goes through the courts and people kind of make that argument of, oh, it's like they're a bunch of Karens, they're just going through the court complaining, they don't actually do anything. But the reality is, when you're a 22% party, you generally can't. We saw it with the VAT hike debacle earlier this year, right? You saw the DA vote against the budget. EFF and MK, and this is probably the first time I've ever seen those three parties agree on anything, right? But still, the little mini rats and mice parties still went with the ANC and got it over the line. So, yeah, sometimes you just aren't able to win the battle politically, right? And so that's why I think it's so important that you do have the civil society groups that you mentioned, as well as the court proceedings. You know, it's another form of checks and balances. But I think whoever does want to learn more about this, Joe, I'm going to post the link to your original video in the description box below so that they can check it out, because what we're seeing is incredibly alarming. And also what you said about Syrah, namely the private security issue. That's another huge problem, Joe, because, you know, we've spoken about this sort of government control, right? But we also need to remember that we live in a country with over 80 murders a day, right? And so when you have so many murders and you need private security or just security in general, this is hugely problematic, because what we also need to remember is that the amount of active private security personnel is over triple the amount of police officers that we have in the country. So not only does that limit our self-defense just in terms of, you know, whether the government tries some kind of an uprising, but it also just makes us more vulnerable to, well, violence, common crimes. But onto a little bit more of a lighter topic, Joe. Not to depress people too much, but there are some pretty positive things happening as well. You've become quite a big figure in what is the Truth Report, and you guys really seem to have taken off like a rocket in recent days. I mean, your videos really seem to be going viral. So, yeah, before I continue, Joe, could you just explain what is the Truth Report and, yeah, your experience so far?
Yeah, sure. Truth Report is a new media / commentary organization, media house in South Africa that focuses on centrist / leaning slightly right views, trying to keep it more centrist, because there are individuals on that contribute and are anchors to the Truth Report that are actually on a very wide spectrum on the political spectrum. You know, we've got some that are left, we've got some that are right, we've got some that are center, and everything in between. We don't have any radicals. So there's no radical right or radical left. It's all rational, truth-seeking and truth-telling individuals. We are there to basically be the voice for the voiceless, to tell the stories that mainstream media, woke media, are too scared to even touch or talk about. And we are not owned by any government or, well, you know, a lot of people would argue that, you know, Naspers is owned by government or whatever, or has some government ties. So, and Naspers owns so many other media houses. We're not like that. We don't have any ties like that. The government cannot control us. The government has no influence on us. And I think that's what makes the government very nervous about us. So we are not afraid to venture into the truth, and nitpick and really lean into it so that people get a very balanced news source. And if I can simplify it even more, if you remember the news back in the day when journalism was journalism, when journalists used to look for the truth, even if it was uncomfortable, even if it made people upset. But, you know, you look at both sides of the story, you look at the facts, and you present that to the audience. That is what the Truth Report does. That's what every contributor of the Truth Report tries to do for the audience. We've got a very nice amount of content creators. I'm included. I'm a contributor to them. But also included in the mix is Ronaldo House, Sama Gambit. We also got Chris Wyatt. We've got Gareth Cliff. Rob Hersoff, and the list goes on and on. Byron is also from Morning Shot, also one of them. And recently joining the fray as well is Donald Brown from Worldview. And right now, actually, the Truth Report is looking for the next voice, the next podcaster, if you will. There's a whole competition that they got going on, which I think if there's anybody that wants to, join me or you, Matthew, want to be part of this game of commentary on news and current affairs in South Africa, sports or fashion or what have you. They are currently looking for the next voice. So please go check out that. You'll find it on all their social media and their website, Truth Report. So yeah, if you guys want a fresh, take on the news, on South African news and international news, that is again geared for the truth, and that's why it's called Truth Report. Then follow Truth Report, get involved, support them. There's some exciting things coming for Truth Report. There, I know there's this. I hope I'm allowed to say this, but so there's a. I know it'll be fine to say this, but so they're going to try and make the news more interactive for those of you that go on the website and stuff, where you get to vote on certain stories and vote whether it's left or it's right and stuff like that. And there'll be like a little meter that will show you this story is more a left leaning story or it's a more right leaning story. So there's stuff like that they're going to do just to make it more interactive for people, which I think is a cool idea. And it'd be interesting to see what people think of the stories that we create, that we put out there, and what people think of how it leans. But it's also good for the public. The public is the one that decides, right? So that's sure. Nice that it's not the news agency that's telling you that this is left or right. It's the public. And I think that's a very interesting thing, to bring to the fore. So yeah, there's a lot of exciting things for Truth Report that are coming. I was recently interviewed by Donald Brown, on Truth Report, so that I hope that will come out soon. It's just about my documentary. Yeah, there's, like I said, I'm constantly contributing to them as well. Just stories that, I find interesting and I think fits their catalog, and I contribute every now and again. So yeah, go head on if you want to see all your basically the best South African content creators that exist right now in South Africa that commentate on the news. You'll find them right there.
Great. Well, that sounds certainly like an exciting venture, and I wish you guys all the best of luck with it. And it's good to hear that there's a little bit of a new, fresh perspective coming. And just the fact that, the media landscape no longer has to be controlled by the same sort of legacy outlets, you kind of, by broadening this horizon a little bit, we can add a bit more accountability. So this definitely
can
seems
I just say something on that? Sorry. I just really want to say something. So News 24, all right, have a huge stick up their bum about Truth Report. They hate us. And recently, they've done hit pieces on Rob Hersoff. They've done hit pieces on other content creators. And recently, when there was this whole expropriation story that Sakaliga broke, I did a video on it and Ronaldo did a video on it, and I'm sure other people did a video on it, but they named us. So there was like a subheading in the article that said YouTube misinformation. And then underneath that, they started with me. But what's interesting here, right, is all they did was quote what I said, but didn't exactly explain how what I said was misinformation. They just quoted me under that headline. Same with Ronaldo. They just quoted what he said, but they didn't rebuttal it. And then what was even stranger, all right, is that Ronaldo and I both said, not exactly in these words, but this was the message, is that this case is still ongoing, and it's an important case to see how expropriation is going to be dealt with in South Africa. I'm paraphrasing what I said, but that's basically the message. And that same article, not 3 paragraphs later, after calling me and Ronaldo misinformation, said roughly the exact same thing. That the case is ongoing and it's an important case to see how expropriation is going to be dealt with in South Africa. So, my brain was struggling to compute that. But it's clear that News 24 is keeping an eye on me, keeping an eye on Truth Report and other content creators. And I think they feel very, very threatened by Truth Report and individuals such as yourself as well. You know, that it's that basically can tell the truth and not be criticized for it, or not criticized, punished for it. And I think that's something very important. I have a theory that the reason why News 24 comes after individuals such as myself and you so aggressively is because they're jealous that they can actually do real reporting and journalism, or they're jealous that we can do the real reporting and journalism, and they're forced to bootlick with the ANC.
Yeah, and I think it's also kind of frustrating for them because they've got to be sitting in these offices with, you know, the typical corporate lifestyle, whereas guys like us, not so much me. I'm not as much a reporter on the ground like you are with your documentary, Joe, but we technically able to get around and do stuff even just as individuals in like a sort of freelance way, if we could call it that. And yeah, also get the scoop out there and also get, you know, support. So ultimately, I think you're correct. I think that they threatened, but clearly it means that you're doing something right.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they wouldn't be so worried about you taking away the spotlight, if we can put it that way.
true.
But yeah, just mentioning your documentary, Joe. I know we spoke a lot about Stolen Ground last time. Still seems to be doing incredibly well. Got even more views since the
Yeah.
last time we spoke. But I actually was curious to hear a little bit about what you're up to now. I understand that you've been raising funds for Stolen Grounds 2 and 3. Could you tell us a little bit about what those are about, if you can, and yeah, just how far along are you in the fundraising campaign?
Yeah. So last time we spoke, Stolen Ground actually got, well, since last time we spoke, Stolen Ground actually got an award in London. It got the Audience Choice Award in the Lift Off Network, which I thought was
Wow,
fantastic.
congratulations.
Thank you. So it's an award-winning documentary now. It's also nominated for another festival, or in another festival, but we'll see if it wins anything. And there's some other festivals that I've submitted the documentary to, so we'll see if anything comes of that. As for what I am busy with now, light research on Stolen Ground 2 and 3, which will focus on Hermanus and Grabau land grabs. Very interesting things happening there. Frightening things, actually, I should say. Yeah, just doing the light groundwork here and there, but focusing mainly on raising funds for the productions now. The previous production I did of Stolen Ground was done on no budget, and I was blessed to be in a situation where I could actually invest my time and invest with traveling and doing things that yeah. So what I'm trying to say is, like, it was, I don't want to say it was easy, because it wasn't easy. It was very challenging at times, but it was easy in the sense that the race course was near me. I didn't have to travel far. The people that I needed to interview were close to me. I didn't have to travel far. I didn't have to go to Joburg or something to interview someone. And that made it easier. But it was still challenging for the most part. And got it done. And now, if I want to go to Grabau, if I want to go to Hermanus, I do need a budget. I can't do it it's going to require me to travel quite far. Rabat and Hermanus are not close to me. I might have to travel a few times depending on people's schedule. And so I need that budget in order to make that happen. I unfortunately can't afford to donate or even invest that amount of money myself. I just don't have the funds, which is where the Back a Buddy comes in. We are aiming for a 400,000 Rand budget in total for the productions. That covers an array of things because I also want to try and step up the game. It's going to go towards equipment. It's going to go towards paying a crew, a small crew, skeleton crew, but still people need to get paid. It's going to go towards security. It's going to go towards accommodation, travel, and among other things as well. The bulk of it will be equipment. But yeah, we are now sitting at just over 200,000, which is great. So that's 50% of the budget reached, which is fantastic. I'm so grateful to everybody who has donated. So we just got 50% left, and I often say this, if 4,000 people donated 50 Rand, just 50 Rand, cup of coffee, yeah, we'd hit our goal. We'd be able to do it. And I unfortunately can't do anything until the production or until the budget has been reached. So that's where it is at the moment. And yeah, if people want to know more about the land grabs in South Africa, go donate, and hopefully we can get this production off the ground. I think realistically, judging by how the donations are going, sometime next year, beginning of next year, production can be underway, but also depends on you guys donating. So the quicker or the more you donate, the quicker we get to the goal, the quicker the productions can happen. It's as simple as that. So yeah, once again, thank you guys so much for who have donated. And yeah, if some of you think 400,000 is a lot of money, it's really not for two documentaries, not one, two. Most documentaries that you see on Netflix are millions of rands. So I'm still trying to do it on a tight budget, which I think I can. I can deliver something that's a step up of the previous one in terms of visual, which I hope I can do. But yeah, at the end of the day, the most important thing is to tell these stories, because let me tell you, I'll give you a little bit of a teaser.
Please do.
Yeah. What I have so far discovered is gut-wrenching, heartbreaking, and unbelievable. And the rot is bad. It's if anyone who's watched the first documentary about the Tygerberg Raceway, I am not exaggerating this. You won't believe what's happening in Rabat and Hermanus. It's way worse. It's way worse than you can possibly imagine. And the very people that the government says they're trying to help are the most screwed and taken advantage of. And that's the heartbreaking part. So I don't want to divulge too much, because I do know that some people will try and sabotage the projects. But from what I've heard so far, these stories need to be told, and they will be told. So, yeah.
Right. So, guys, if I can just implore you all to check out the Back a Buddy campaign. The link will be in the description box below. As Joe said, this is incredibly important work. It's incredibly important to get the truth of what's really going on in South Africa out there. So, yes, please be sure to check that out. Click on the link and let's get this thing funded. I can certainly not think of a better person to carry out this kind of documentary, Joe, than yourself, considering the phenomenal job that you did on the first Stolen Ground documentary. And then, of course, there is also your ANC secret gun grab exposed video that I'm also going to put the link to in the description box below. And I think people also need to check that one out because, once again, it's another incredibly important development in South Africa that people need to be aware about. As fun as politics can be to talk about, we always need to remember that it really entangles itself in every aspect of our lives, whether we like it or not. But Joe, I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me today. It's been super enlightening speaking to you again. Definitely enjoyed catching up, and yeah, just all the best with your documentaries and what you've got going on and your channel.
Yeah, Matthew, thank you so much for having me again. It's always a pleasure chatting to you. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten that I need to get you on my channel, and I will. Just life is a bit hectic at the moment. So yeah, but just remind me. But yeah, other than that, thanks again for having me. It's always fun chatting to you. So anytime you want me back, just you have my number. Just contact me. Yeah, thanks again.
Likewise, Joe. So thanks everybody for tuning in and watching. Please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel as well as Joe's channel for more content. Until next time, I'm Matthew Cohen, and this is the Power Pod.